Hey friends, Sean from Draft Therapy here, and on today's review for you, we're going vintage. "2020 Cherry Barrel Blossom" and its 11.2% Imperial Smoked Porter, aged in bourbon barrels and cherry bitter barrels from Firestone Walker Brewing Company in Paso Robles, California. Welcome, welcome, welcome everyone to another installment of the Cellar Dive series, where I do my best to go through my cellar to see what's still good and what's just, no, it's okay. Today's the first time, I'm pretty sure, I've ever tried a Firestone Walker beer. Now, there's nothing against them. They just don't get distro here in Michigan, or at least not southeastern Lower Michigan. I was able to procure this one a few years ago from Tavour. I've been really just waiting for a good time to finally try it, and this seems as good a time as any to give it a shot. After all, it is the Cellar Dive, right? So let's, we're gonna look at old beer. I've never even taken this one out of the box. Beer in boxes seems really kind of regal. I think this is the first time I've ever even had a beer in a box. So I'm going to open it. We're going to take a look at the label. I don't think it says anywhere on the box or anywhere on the label, but this is a blend of 88% bourbon barrel-aged beer mixed with 12% cherry bitters barrel-aged beer. So if you're wondering why I mentioned so many of those mixes in my intro, that's why. We're going to check this out. We're going to go to the can cam once I get this box open. The can cam today is brought to you by Meow Mix. Tastes so good, cats ask for it by name. So I'm going to open this. Like I said, never had a boxed beer. We're going to talk about both the label on the box and on the beer itself. So I guess the label on the box, there's going to be a lot of rustling here. All right, so let's take a look at the beer itself first. This says Firestone Proprietors Vintage 2020 Barrel Aged Blossom, which I said before. On the bottle here, we see the original gravity, the final gravity, the IBU, the yeast, the cases, how many were produced, the color measured in SRM, which they say is dark cherry. This is an imperial smoked porter with sea salt aged in bourbon barrels and cherry bitter barrels. It's 11.2% ABV. There isn't really much else on the label here, but it says to always keep it refrigerated between 40 and 55. Store at 40. Serve at 55. I think I've done a pretty good job at that. I'm going to look at the back real quick and read it off to you. It says, our brewery began in '96 when we delved into the rare art of fermenting beer in oak barrels. They talk about their history. This is the inaugural vintage of Cherry Barrel Blossom. It features a classic smoked porter aged with bourbon barrels and cherry bitter barrels with a dash of sea salt with a nod to the German Rausch beer style. The porter was brewed with smoked malts to create a subtle, smoky effect. The cherry bitters barrel brought fruity accents to the bourbon-driven flavors of vanilla, tobacco, and chocolate, while the inclusion of sea salt elevated the mouthfeel. The result is the deliciously distinctive sipping experience. Like I said, you should store it between 45 and 55 and allow it to warm up in the glass when serving. It's got the, on the top here, it's got the lion, the Firestone Walker lion on the top here. Firestone Walker Brewing Company, established in '96. It has a bear and a lion. We're going to use this Belgian snifter style glass here, and we're going to go ahead and crack this. I know I've talked a lot about the label and everything, but I wanted to kind of, I've never even seen this beer before. So it's kind of cool to, this is the first year of it, I guess. So let's go ahead and crack this and put a nose on it. Make sure all is recording. We got one shot. I only have one of these beers. So on the inside it says Lions, Bears, and Beers. Okay, never seen that. Never had a Firestone Walker beer before. Put a nose on it. It does have like a tobacco kind of aroma to it. It has cherry, and I am getting vanilla, and honestly, I am getting tobacco, which is odd because I've never smelled tobacco in a beer before. Let's go ahead and pour this. Come out really dark. For some reason, I was expecting it to be like a lighter red. It's coming out like a cola. It looks like cola coming out of the bottle here. We're just going to pour this. This is I believe this is a 12 fluid ounce bottle here. We're getting about a finger of head. Cherry and vanilla, big time on that pour. That's really just kind of wafting off of this beer here. And if we hold it up to the light, the head, as you can see from the overhead, let's just put it here so you can see a little bit better. It is kind of rather thin. It's kind of dissipated a little bit, but it is hanging on pretty good. Let's go ahead and put a nose on the glass. Yeah, I was getting cherry and vanilla, a little bit of tobacco on the nose out of the bottle, but out of the glass, it is like almost all cherry and vanilla. Maybe a little bit of bourbon. It's got kind of that bourbony barrel-aged aroma to it, like an oak barrel, and with a little hint of bourbon. Let's go ahead and try this out. I just shut up and drink the beer, right? All right, let's go ahead and try it out. Cheers. The mouthfeel is considerably thinner than I was expecting it to be with all the kind of talk, but I guess maybe bourbon barrel, the cherry bitter barrel kind of thins out that mouthfeel. But it has a thinner mouthfeel, like I said, than I was expecting, but the flavor is on point. Let's talk about that. I'm getting a lot of cherry, obviously. Lots of cherry in there. Getting almost, well, I'm getting vanilla, but I'm almost getting this cinnamon flavor to it. It's got this kind of spicy note to it. And I think what a lot of that is the bourbon and the cherry bitters that are kind of mixed together in this. They kind of give off this fruity cherry flavor, but with this little distinct kind of bourbony, like astringent kind of bite to it. So it's almost like this bitter, like spicy bite. I'm not picking up on any kind of tobacco. I was picking up on tobacco out of the bottle, but not any tobacco flavor out of the beer itself. That's a really interesting one. Like I said, it's got that cherry flavor, but that cinnamon is still that spicy. I don't. It is kind of cinnamon. It's still just really kind of biting throughout the entire flavor, and I like it. But I do think that it's a mixture of that cherry bitter and the bourbon because there is this really subtle bourbon note that rises up from the back. It kind of comes through on the finish of the beer. It's a really nice flavor overall. It's really interesting. I can't say that I would put my finger on this. I guess the mouthfeel kind of has the mouthfeel of a porter, so that makes sense that it's kind of that on that thinner end. But I don't think of any flavor that I can pick out through this that I'm getting any kind of porter vibe from this beer other than the lighter mouthfeel. It says sea salt. I know they said that's more for mouthfeel. I don't feel like I'm getting much of a different mouthfeel than I would from really just a barrel-aged porter in general. Maybe salt is kind of helping extrude a little bit more of that cherry flavor. A little bit of a vanilla is starting to pop up, just a tiny bit, but it's not overpowering. Like I said, this is really very much cherry. You're getting very much vanilla. You're getting that kind of cinnamony kind of bite, like I said, which I think, again, for the, I don't know, 100th time that I've said it, have a drinking game, how many times I've said cinnamon, and that it's a mix between this bourbon and cherry bitter, and then a slight more stronger bourbon flavor comes through right on the very finish. A really interesting beer. I would love to have had more than one of these to be able to hold on to it for a little bit longer, especially now that I've had it and I know what the flavor is, because it's always been a mystery. It's just been kind of sitting around and being mysterious in its own. But yeah, this is a really nice beer. I just wish I had another one to try. So that kind of ruins the surprise at this point, doesn't it? It's kind of, this is the end of the line for this beer for me because I don't have another one. All right, friends, that's been Firestone Walker's Cherry Barrel Blossom from 2020. Have you had this? Do you still have it? Do you have more than one? Do you have a few? And let's say theoretically that I'll be able to pick up some other Firestone Walker beers. What would you suggest? Let me know in the comments down below while you're down there. If you like beer, you might want to subscribe and click that bell. I'm here talking about beer twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's all for free for viewers just like you, and you might miss your newest favorite if you're not subscribed and getting those notifications. So until next time, I'm Sean from Draft Therapy. Thanks for stopping by. Remember, drink craft beer, support your local breweries. These guys are Firestone Walker. They're out of Paso Robles in California. And until next time, don't forget to treat yourself to a little draft therapy. Come back and see me the next time on the Cellar Dive series. We'll see what we can dig up next time. See ya. Cheers.